Tonight on Reporting Scotland, could Glasgow host the Commonwealth Games again after the Australian state of Victoria pulled out? Commonwealth Games Scotland's proposing a scaled-down Games in 2026. But what do Glaswegians think?
Funding, depending on where it comes from, that's always going to be a concern for a lot of people, given the state of the economy at the moment.
All the different countries coming together, I think that's what Glasgow kind of is anyway.
Also in tonight's programme, a rise in near-miss incidents at the Police Control Centre where call handling errors led to the occupants of a crashed car going undiscovered for 3 days.
Coming up in the sport, it's been a week to forget for Dundee, but manager Tony Docherty is calling for his team to sprint across the finish line in their push for the top six. And we catch up with the first Scottish Scottie, long-serving engineer of the Starship Enterprise.
We're rebranding him. He's from Paisley now, do you know what I mean?
Hello, I'm Sally Magnuson. Welcome to Friday's programme. It's an event in search of a host, and now there's confusion over whether Glasgow will step in to stage the 2026 Commonwealth Games. The Australian state of Victoria withdrew as host last year because of the cost. Since then, other cities have ruled themselves out. Today, Commonwealth Games Scotland has come up with a proposal for Glasgow to hold a scaled-down version of the Games, but the City Council is still assessing whether to back it. Here's our sports news correspondent, Chris McLaughlin.
Come on in, Australia!
It was a summer in Glasgow to remember. 2014, the sun shone and the city put on a show. Memories were made for athletes and fans alike. But in recent years, the Commonwealth Games has struggled to excite countries to get involved. Victoria and Australia pulled out of 2026, saying the cost outweighed the benefits. That has left organisers with a huge headache. So Glasgow's rescue plan is a streamlined version. It would have a core sport programme of between 10 and 13 sports. No athletes' village, hotels will be used, and they say the majority of the bill would be picked up by the Commonwealth Games Federation.
What we have said to both the Commonwealth Games Federation, Scottish Government and others is we want to develop a concept using the money that they have. So they've put on the table £100 million directly into a host economy, I would say, full hotels, full restaurants, everything else, but £100 million to put a Games on. We believe we would enhance that with private money.
But what about a legacy? The regeneration of parts of the East End was the legacy last time. But without big legacy plans this time around, will Glaswegians buy in?
Obviously, the funding, depending on where it comes from, that's always going to be a concern for a lot of people, given the state of the economy at the moment.
All the different countries coming together, I think that's what Glasgow kind of is anyway.
These things cost a lot of money, and right now the government keep telling us that there's cutbacks and things happening, and depending on how much it would cost, I would be all for it.
Ross Murdoch is going to take the goal for Scotland. Goal to Scotland.
From a sporting point of view, those who shone in this city 10 years ago have no doubts that it should return and give others the same opportunity.
I would actually hate to think that the opportunities that I had to build a better life for myself and the opportunities that I got through sport, that other people wouldn't be afforded the same opportunity. Even if it was just an opportunity to dream one day that I could represent Scotland, because that's what it was.
Glasgow still wants to be a last resort and would prefer that someone else stepped forward. That in itself leaves questions, but others see it as an opportunity.
We've had £500 million cut from the city's budget since the Commonwealth Games in 2014. We've seen a hemorrhaging of capacity across some of the key services in the cities. For example, the roads and parks have been cut 80%. That's been a hugely damaging impact on the city. But I think what we can do is say, look towards 2026, let's repair and begin to rebuild the city's urban fabric.
Glasgow 2014 and perhaps Glasgow 2026. We should find out if it's happening at the end of next month.
And Chris is with us now. Exactly my question. Chris, what chances of this idea actually happening, do you think?
Well, Sally, even though the organisers are saying that they will only step in if no one else steps up, I suspect Commonwealth Games Scotland really want this to happen and think they're in with a good chance. They say they have a unique selling point. What they're saying to the Commonwealth Games Federation is, look, you know that the days of huge Commonwealth Games are over. There's no way that cities are going to pay hundreds of millions of pounds anymore to put this event on. So bring it to Glasgow. We'll show you what a streamlined Commonwealth Games look like and use that going forward as a blueprint. That might be enough to convince the Commonwealth Games Federation to make a Glasgow 2026. There's also perhaps a political element to this, because last year the UK government said no UK city will step in to save 2026. The Scottish government may have their own ideas. We're yet to find out.
Chris McLaughlin, thank you very much indeed. The Police Control Centre, where call handling errors led to the occupants of a crashed car going undiscovered for 3 days, has recorded a rise in near-miss and notable incidents, according to figures obtained by BBC News. Bilston Glen in Midlothian manages the deployment of officers in the east of Scotland, including Lothian and Borders. Our reporter Katie Hunter joins me here now. Katie, what do we learn from these figures?
Well, Sally, Bilston Glen came under scrutiny back in 2015 following a fatal crash on the M9 near Stirling. John Newell and Lamara Bell lay undiscovered for 3 days because of an error logging a call. We asked Police Scotland for data on both near misses and notable incidents at Bilston Glen. Now, firstly, a near miss is an unplanned event or situation that could result in injury, illness, damage or loss, but didn't. And hopefully we can see a graph shortly showing that back in 2018, there was one near miss recorded. The figures stayed relatively low and then went up to 18 in 22-23. Now, just important to say, we don't know exactly what these near misses entailed. We also asked for data on notable incidents. Now, that's when the police response is likely to have a significant impact on the reputation of the division, Police Scotland or its partners. And there's a bit of a similar trend here. You can see back in 2018, the figures in the 30s, late 20s, and again in 2022-23, up at over 50. Now, the Scottish Police Federation, which represents rank and file officers, says that staff at Bilston Glen are really overstretched.
The concern is that we're having the same levels of concerns raised by our members and our staff colleagues at Bilston Glen ACR as we saw back in 2015. And we all know what happened back then. It's just disappointing that we don't learn the lessons of under-resourcing, but it's also an indication of the funding challenges that Police Scotland are facing on a regular basis.
Well, that's one view of it. What about the various authorities involved here? What are they saying?
Well, Police Scotland, Sally, have said that a near miss, for example, could be someone slipping on a floor. Assistant Chief Constable Emma Bonds said that the Contact Command and Control Division had managed almost 8 million incidents in 5 years. That's across Scotland, from which 183 notable incidents were raised in Bilston Glen, and that staff were actively encouraged to report these incidents. Now, referring to events back in 2015, she said Lamara Bell and John Newell's deaths were a tragedy. The former Chief Constable had apologised unreservedly to their families. She said Police Scotland's fully participated with inspections, investigations, inquiries established since, and have made positive changes resulting in significant improvements to reduce and mitigate risks. Now, you heard about funding there. Scottish Government spokesperson said despite deeply challenging financial circumstances due to the UK Government settlement, this year's budget includes record police funding. And in response to that, finally, the UK Government said the Scottish Government's currently receiving a record funding settlement and policing is devolved.
Thanks very much. Katie Hunter there. Thank you. Some of the day's other stories now. A staged reopening of the road leading to Sumborough Airport in Shetland has been taking place after a fatal crash in the early hours of the morning. A 25-year-old man died in the incident. Police are appealing for witnesses or for anyone with dash cam footage to come forward. A row has broken out over a loyalist march due to take place in Inverness later this month. Highland Council granted permission for the parade by the Apprentice Boys of Derry and the City of Inverness Campsie Club, but hundreds of people have signed a petition against it. The Apprentice Boys of Derry say similar parades have been held for over a decade and there's never been trouble. The video gaming version of the BAFTA Awards is now in its 20th year, and at last night's ceremony, a Scottish company took one of the top prizes. Sad Owl Studios won Best British Game for Viewfinder, a 3D puzzle game which was created while one of the team was a student in Dundee. Rachel Bell reports.
And the BAFTA goes to Viewfinder.
A huge win for the Scottish studio Sad Owl, bagging a BAFTA for Best British Game.
Thank you so much to everyone who made this game happen.
And this is the game. It's called Viewfinder, a 3D puzzle-solving game, the brainchild of Dundee-based developer Matt Stark.
I made this prototype of a game with a camera, and I shared a video of it online, and it went hugely viral, and we got loads of publishers reaching out. I teamed up with my now co-directors, George and Gwen, and they built a team around the project. It's been incredible seeing how far the project has come, seeing it go from this little scrappy prototype into this beautiful, fleshed out, full game.
Viewfinder! The studio also won for having the best new intellectual property.
We had 0 speeches planned, not 2.
No. We really weren't expecting 2. I mean, we were hoping, fingers crossed, that we might get 1, but 2 was absolute shock.
Last year, gaming sales accounted for £4.7 billion in the UK, more than double that of the music industry. As last night's BAFTAs showed, there's scope for smaller, independent studios to get their slice of the pie.
It's a whole new world, and it's wonderful because it means that anybody who has the passion and enthusiasm and drive to go out and build their own game can put it out in front of the world and potentially not just find an audience and make a fortune, but pick up their very own BAFTA.
After winning 2 BAFTAs, the industry will be watching to see what's next for this Scottish studio. It may take them some time to get used to the limelight.
Thank you so much. We're so honoured to be here.
Let's go now. Rachel Bell, reporting Scotland.
Well done, Sad Owl. Tonight's main news again. Could Glasgow host the Commonwealth Games again after the Australian state of Victoria pulled out?
Montgomery Scott at your service.
And we catch up with the first Scottish Scottie, engineer of the Starship Enterprise. Some of Scotland's top women footballers are calling for greater awareness of how to prevent injury in sport at all levels. There's been a dramatic increase in the number of serious knee injuries, particularly in women's sport. Our health correspondent Lisa Summers reports.
If you want to be top of your game, you have to put in the hours. Football training at Boroughmuir Thistle in Edinburgh on a miserable Scottish night. Sports that involve a lot of pivoting and direction change have seen a rapid rise in serious knee injuries like anterior cruciate ligament tears. But up to 50% can be prevented with a simple warm-up.
Really important to get your knee over your toe.
Juliette Gold is an NHS physiotherapist specialising in knee injuries. When she's not treating patients who've damaged their ACL, she's promoting prevention.
If these kids injure their ACLs now, then they're likely to get arthritic changes even in 10-15 years time when they're still young and in their 20s or 30s, and then can have consequences for the rest of their life in terms of symptoms in their knee, whether they have it reconstructed or not.
Gigi Bradford ruptured her ACL in the first week of the season last year.
I just went up to kick the ball kind of off balance, and when I jumped, my knee just collapsed, felt it all pop, and I just lay there like, yeah, that's my ACL.
A Scotland and Hearts under-17 player, she'll be out of action for 12 months.
It was excruciating pain, like honestly agony. But I just kind of went into shock, because obviously that was something that was my worst nightmare, and then it actually became real.
Prevent those types of injuries first and foremost, because the amount of hours and minutes that players lose in their career to serious injuries is just, for me, unacceptable.
This is what's going to stop you rupturing your ACL, hopefully.
The environment, hormones, body shape are all part of research into why women are more susceptible to injury. But drilling into players the need for a good warm-up is something that can make a difference. Lisa Summers reporting Scotland, Edinburgh.
And some bad news in today is that Scotland goalkeeper Sandy McIver has ruptured her ACL in the draw with Serbia last week. So get better soon.
Yeah.
Where are your crutches?
No,
talking of injuries. Yeah.
Ankle for me, not quite as serious as an ACL, but I've hobbled my way in to bring you the sport.
And
today,
you were
Sally.
playing?
I was playing snooker, believe it or not. I don't know how it happened. That's a story for another day.
I shouldn't laugh. And you've actually ruptured your
my ACL as well, yeah. It's a very serious injury, I tell you, Sally.
No.
So, yeah, we shouldn't be laughing, should we?
No,
not when it comes to me, anyway.
Was I laughing?
Thanks very much, Sally. Hello there, yes. Well, let's start with some football. And Dundee, they've had a week to forget in terms of their troubled Dens Park pitch. But manager Tony Docherty is keen to highlight the laser focus that his team have to confirm their top 6 status. Docherty took charge of Dundee at the start of the season following their promotion from the Championship, and the manager believes it's huge testament to his squad that victory over Aberdeen at Pittodrie tomorrow would guarantee a finish in the top half of the table.
17 of our squad have made the Premier League debut this season. Of that, 11 are under 21s and 8 of them being internationals. So it's huge testament to the group that we've got ourselves in this position. You know, that yes, we're a win away from that, and it's advantage us because it's in our hands. So I need to give them great praise for that, and just for their point of view, for our point of view, I want to see them sprint across that finish line, because they've got themselves in a position now where it's down to us, you know, and again, as I say, they deserve great credit for that, and let's hope we can just get that over the line.
Now, Hibs head coach Nick Montgomery says he expects to be at the club next season, regardless if they finish in the top 6 or not. A 2-1 defeat to St Johnstone last weekend leaves the Edinburgh club 1 place and 1 point behind Dundee, who are in that 6th spot in the table. And while Montgomery admits missing out in the top half may affect the club's budget, he's confident it won't affect his job.
I still expect to be here, you know, for the duration of my contract at the time that I came here, and I looked at it as, you know, a big picture and you know, looking at you know, the future and you know, what I wanted to implement at the club and how to rebuild, and I think there's been a lot of that this season, and yeah, on the emotion of a game last weekend, there's you know, a lot of noise come from that, but yeah, I expect to be here next season.
There's an injury blow for Celtic in the title run-in, with winger Daisen Maeda set for a layoff after suffering a hamstring injury. The Japan international, who scored 21 seconds into Sunday's draw with Rangers, will miss tomorrow's clash with St Mirren while the club's medical team assess the extent of the problem. Now, we saw a moment ago how Dundee have a big match tomorrow, and for their city rivals United, the excitement comes this evening. They take on Morton, looking to extend their lead at the top of the Championship. Jonathan Sutherland is at Capello.
Some sort of klaxon should really be going off. We truly are at the business end of the season. Just 4 matches to go for each of the sides in the Championship, and so much to play for. Tonight here in Greenock, Dundee United can go 7 points clear at the top of the table as they try and chase down the Championship crown. That would be for 24 hours at least, with Raith Rovers playing tomorrow. Just 3 more victories required for Dundee United to claim the title. As for Greenock Morton, they're in a sort of no man's land at the moment. 7 points away from the promotion playoff places and just 6 points clear of the dreaded relegation at playoff place. So 3 points essential for them tonight. Hopefully essential viewing for us tonight on Sportscene as well. 7:30 on the BBC Scotland channel, the BBC iPlayer and BBC Sport Online.
Scotland will run out to a full house at the Hive Stadium beside Murrayfield tomorrow when they host table toppers England in their 3rd game of the Women's Six Nations. There's a feel-good factor around the team, with Scotland having beaten Wales in the opening weekend and having pushed France hard in Edinburgh in their most recent game. For full-back Chloe Rowley, who made her Scotland debut 9 years ago, to see their home ground sold out for the match indicates how much the women's game has progressed.
It kind of used to more be like a hobby. Now it's a career. And that just shows you exactly the way it's going and the way it should be going, and it's very different from me from when I first started to now. It's it's like I say again, mind blowing. I think it shows exactly how much effort individuals, players, management, you know, the people higher up in SRU, how much effort they've been putting in, how much work they've been putting in, and hopefully that keeps coming to keep pushing us on and get us, like, you know, higher in the rankings and, you know, more support, etc., etc.
And finally, it's the Grand National tomorrow, and Scottish trainer Lucinda Russell believes her horse, Corach Rambler, can make it back-to-back wins in the famous race. Jockey Derek Fox rode the horse from the Milnathort Yard to victory at Aintree last year, and it's the favourite again this time round, not just with the bookmakers.
character. He's the most unique horse. I will never ever have another horse like him. He's very, very intelligent, so he can, not only does it help him when he's jumping different fences like the national fences, but he can pick up on humans' emotions. And my mother's terrified of horses, and he'll stand back from her. He's not in her face, whereas he loves blonde ladies actually. He particularly likes blonde girls, and he'll sort of go up to them and lean on them, but he's just very, very sensitive. He's a remarkable horse. I'm just so lucky to have him.
Can't wait for that. And Sally, before I go and get ice on my ankle, worth mentioning that there is a big game in the SWPL tonight, Edinburgh Derby, with Hearts hosting Hibs.
Great. Thanks very much, Lewis. And fingers crossed if you're planning a flutter on Corach Rambler. Now it's over to Laura Miller to find out what's happening on BBC Scotland at 7 o'clock.
Hello, coming up tonight with the news that the Commonwealth Games could be coming to Glasgow again. A member of the 2014 bid committee will be here to discuss what it takes to host the event and whether the city could recreate the magic of that summer. Also tonight, Greater Manchester Police have launched an investigation into Angela Rayner, Labour's deputy leader, over the sale of her council house. Plus, we have an extended chat with one of the winners from the BAFTA Games Awards. Switch over at 7.
Right, that's me safely beamed down, and this is very exciting because, like many of us, Star Trek was a big part of my childhood, and so was Scotty, the allegedly Scottish engineer famous for beaming up the high command on the Starship Enterprise. Now a real Scot is going to play Mr. Scott for the first time. Martin Quinn from Paisley's began filming for the new season of Paramount's Strange New Worlds, and Jamie Russell has been to meet him.
He's one of Hollywood's most famous Scottish characters, but he's never been played by a Scottish actor until now.
Montgomery Scott at your service. Lieutenant, junior grade.
I suppose we're rebranding him. He's from Paisley now, do you know what I mean?
The humans you detected is that wee box right there.
The worry is that we're too, or I'm too west of Scotland, do you know what I mean? And that actually what they're used to hearing is, Captain, you can't do it! You know, it's a bit more, I think James Doohan was basing it on an Aberdonian that he'd heard.
As promised, she's all yours, sir. All systems automated and ready.
Canadian actor James Doohan was first to take on the role in the 60s and played it for 40 years.
Wait, now hang on a minute, lassie. I'm having a difficult day here.
Then, Englishman Simon Pegg reignited the character in the 2009 movie. And now, it's Martin's turn.
I don't think they always understand what I'm saying when we're filming. I've got to concede that it's not just Scottish people watching this TV show, so I want to keep it as authentic to how I speak. You know, they let me put in the word bawheed the other week, as opposed to, they had turnipheed. I don't know, maybe they think all Scottish people are farmers.
All right, who's it going?
I would say I was really lucky that I came from a really working class area. I was really lucky that I got that gig on Limmy's show at 14 because it completely enabled me to walk into school and to get praise for doing acting as opposed to getting a slagging. So, you know, I owe Limmy everything, really. It could be really overwhelming taking on one of these iconic legacy roles, do you know what I mean? But the fella who plays Spock, Ethan Peck, he took me out for lunch just to chat to me about that. And yeah, the pressure would feel huge if they hadn't all approached me and kind of advised me the way that they did. I don't know, it's the power of representation, isn't it? I was always into Star Wars because Ewan McGregor was there. It's because there was a Scottish guy in Star Wars. I wasn't as interested in Star Trek because it wasn't a real Scottish person. And obviously I'm more interested in Star Trek now that I'm in it, but I hope that other people will be more interested in it because we've got, you know, real Scottish people in it this time.
Pod secured. Thank you, Mr. Scott. Aye, sir. Pressure equalized.
Bawheed on Star Trek, I love it. Right, Judith, what you got for us? Oh, that's lovely.
Isn't it? Yeah, the Northern Isles haven't done too badly where, you know, in the Sunshine Stakes. I just spotted a couple of people there. It looks like they've come out of the water. Well, prior to that, but it must have been
each to their own.
I know, exactly. I must give it a try sometime, Sally. Thank you very much. A very good evening to you. The best weather today was found up across the Northern Isles, Caithness, and indeed Aberdeenshire, seeing some blue skies. Not only that, but warm temperatures. 19.7 at Fyvie Castle today. We'll round that up to 20 degrees, but things really are set to change in a couple of days' time. We'll be at least 10 degrees lower than this on across that part of the world. Another set of weather fronts coming our way, bringing rain or showers or wet weather, really. I mean, there's no really... the difference between them both is marginal, isn't it? Windy conditions as well. And then we'll see a final front sweeping through Saturday night into Sunday, introducing much colder air. But really quite an angry wee front making its way across the country tonight with a band of squally, heavy rain associated with it, strong winds with gales in the north. But it clears through pretty quickly, but you will notice it. Behind it, drier, clearer, but we'll see some showers pushing into the northwest, and it stays windy pretty much across the country, and a cooler night, 6 to 8 Celsius. A cooler feel first thing tomorrow, dry with some sunshine first thing for the south and the east and the Northern Isles before we start to see this feature here bringing showers into the northwest. They'll gather into a longer spell of rain, emerge, I should say, heavy rain at times making its way across the country. Reaching the Northern Isles tomorrow afternoon, it will linger over Shetland. Now, you can't be too clever with showers because I don't know if this is exactly how it's going to look at 2 in the afternoon, but you can guarantee you're going to see some heavy showers wheeking by. They'll push through quickly, but it'll be one after the other at times, and temperature-wise it'll be lower 14 Celsius. Maybe some breaks across the southwest for a time in that wind direction. Running up the west coast, strong winds, really strong winds through central and southern Scotland tomorrow, near gale force at times, a slight easing of them across more northern parts. If you're thinking of heading to the hills tomorrow, some very challenging conditions indeed. Frequent squally showers, and as the air turns colder, they turn increasingly wintry, and it'll be that wet snow that makes you feel really cold. Very strong gusty winds, gales to severe gale force westerly winds at the tops, making it barely difficult to even stand up, and an increasing wind chill as that colder air starts to set in. So further showers as we head through to tomorrow evening. Then they'll start to ease for a time as we head through the overnight period. The winds ease a little as well, drier and clearer, just a scattering of showers to the northwest and the Northern Isles. A cold feel first thing on Sunday, but some sunshine for most of us. Then once again, another weather front bringing frequent showers. Those showers becoming widespread across the country as we head through the course of the day. The winds will be on the cold side, despite the fact they're coming from the southwest. The source is from the northwest, so cold and that bit cooler temperature-wise.
OK, Judith, thank you very much indeed. Quick look at tonight's main news again. Glasgow could step in with a scaled-back offering to stage the 2026 Commonwealth Games if no other host is found. And McAlpine will be here with your late news at around 10:30 tonight. Until then, goodbye from us.